Good morning, everyone. So I thought it was going to be a very uneventful open here, but some selling picked up for whatever reason. And I'll just move this line out of the way. The NASDAQ, anyways, entering a little minor void below. And it's to be expected. I mean, after that run up. And I started with the NASDAQ here, drawing tool, because it was the one that led the way up, and it was the one based technically that was most likely to at least begin to some type of retracement. Okay, so, and why do I say that? Well, because, first of all, they all went up pretty much the same way after this little pullback toward the 50 MA, pulled back a little deeper, and this little area we call minor support went a little bit below it, but look, it's just an area. That's always how we look at support and resistance as areas. What are the reference points that institutions will be looking at to either buy or sell? So, this move down and this sort of grinding move up, one of the things that we look for is what's called a greater than 100% retracement. And once it takes it out, and it doesn't have to, this one just kind of took it out marginally, but it is at a pretty big whole number here, which has an effect. Once it takes it out, our thought process, right, what we call all our lessons, modules or thought building lessons, is that once it takes that out after a greater than 100% retracement, it's going to stall. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to reverse completely. It's just a guideline that historically, based on patterns, things typically stall. Now, how it got up there has to be considered, because sometimes, let me just clear up my little drawing here. This one up there, kind of a ebb and flow, kind of grinding. It was sideways here until it got going, after the Fed meeting and the earnings and so on. But sometimes, it goes down and goes just like that, straight back up again. And that leads to a bigger pullback. Now that didn't happen. So good and bad, meaning this is, from your perspective, kind of bad in that it goes slowly. But the good part about it is it leaves multiple reference points of support for buyers to step up on pullbacks. Now, it should not get down below here, right? Theoretically, with this move up, its ability to get up here is a plus. Now, how far it pulls back, or the lack thereof, will be telling. So here's the prior bars low, and I'll look at the Qs and look at the spiders, because it's, I think, a bit more relevant, since it doesn't encompass the overnight trading. But in any event, no matter what we're looking at, we look at the prior bars low as our first reference point of support. And on a day-to-day basis, does it get down there? So at the end of the day today, one of the things that we'll assess, right, in a very objective way is, first of all, is this a red bar at the end of the day? Right? This could reverse, right? It certainly could possibly hold here and flip right back up again. We don't know. That's day-to-day trading, is like what's going to happen today, and putting in context these multiple time frames, to come to a conclusion as to what might or might not happen. So after this move up above this high, it's very possible to get a red bar that goes relatively deep into the prior day's range. Now, that's just one day, and where this at would be fine. And what we'll be looking for into this week is how it handles this resistance area, meaning bullish sideways, possibly, even a correction bar, which, let's just say at the end of the day, we're looking at a green bar, or tomorrow. There's different economic numbers coming out to be aware of that could push this market around. But Bullishly, if it went sideways up here and then a reversal up would suggest higher. And of course, the opposite of that, common sense, if we got a bar like that, the bigger the bar on especially today or tomorrow, the greater the possibility of taking out this prior low. You can see now was marked as a pivot low, and breaking that would violate at least this this short-term move up, right? That's going on right now. So today we're really about assessing what type of correction happens after this move up into an area of resistance that's likely to have some kind of a correction. And then, if that continues, does it break a prior day's low? Does it close below a prior day's low? And just a systematic observation of what's happening. And even if it does that, the bigger question is, does it create the next viable setup, which is what should happen? So could be a little, choppy today. Usually it is after moves like this toward areas of resistance and taking it out. All right. S&Ps. So they're into this resistance area up here. Right? They haven't gotten to the top of it. They haven't exceeded it. And that's usually what they do before they correct further. The same idea, greater than 100% retracement. So with the NASDAQ, the Q is already up at that reference point and starting to make a turn. Maybe it's not going to get there today. So, I think the worst thing it could have done as far as a larger correction would have been today opening up higher or here and just running up above 4,200. That would have set up a larger pullback for sure. Whereas what we have now, well, of course, prior day's low, which lines up with that pivot there you can see on the 60-minute chart. And then if we do get a red bar today, ultimately, does it come down toward this 4,000 level, which lined up with minor support, these overlapping opens and closes right here, big whole number, big open interest in option activity around that level. So any pullback toward here should be viable based on this move. And we'll see how far it pulls back. Factory work. All right, spiders, which were really doing nothing before when earlier, and now they're down here near Friday's low, bouncing up a little bit. Just looking what the cursor is there. Okay, so going to be gapping lower. All right, we still got 20 minutes to the open. We'll see where this is, and just looking again, gapping lower. So opening down there, show up there, opening down there again, somewhere in this area, makes it relatively easy. Well, I'm saying that relatively easy to break the prior day's low because it'll be relatively close by. It won't take far to get there. And we'll see if it actually breaks. All right. So again, I'm looking where this is relative to then looking at SPX and how far away we can get for a put spread, because that's where the juice is going to be. And earlier it was up a little higher. I had 40.25. And I think that is a no-brainer. Right? Jacob's got 40.35. He wants more juice, which I think should be fine. Yes. I'm always looking for, no-brainer means absolutely it ain't getting there today. But I think, 40.35, that area should be fine. McGraw and Jacob, I think that's fine because it's got to break the prior day's low. And then look, we always look at things like average true range. And I just eyeball that. I don't need it here. And you can see, this is but an igniting bar since it came after a pullback, and looking at the size of that bar. And then, okay, let's say it's going to open here based on where the spiders are. It's going to open here. And so let me get my little drawing tool out here. So let's just say this bar, right? That bar is, right? That's a big bar. That's a big one. Why the hell is it taking it away? All right, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it there. Right, because let's say that's where it opened. It would have to go all the way down there from the open. Now, ultimately, you really, we would go up here, but I'm just going, giving that extra room, which does put it in the danger zone to get a bar that big. So ultimately, to get down there from a gap down without some kind of really bearish news, which I'm not listening to news, but that would be a hell of a move. Now from here, you say from the prior close puts it at 55, and 50 is going to be a protection area. So look, I still think a quarter will be a no-brainer. 30 should be safe, give or take. These overlapping opens and closes is this little area of congestion right here. So the top of it is 41. And of course, it's got to get through the prior day's close. So the further away, and the upside probably, since this is bullishly on the way up, and if you want to go 4170, which just based on this gap down should be fine as well. And it's in an area of resistance. Yep. McGraw's got 4175. Yep. For a spread. I agree. Yep. All good. All right. So we looked at the spiders, Qs here. Were they opening up for 13 and a half or 14? Middle of the bar, no big deal. A little bit of a bearish open, but no big deal. And you could see, middle of the bar there, getting close to resistance, just a normal type of reaction here so far today. 3 bars up, close to resistance. Odds are there was going to be some type of selling, and we'll just see to what degree it evolves into or not. Maybe it's just an inside day today that goes nowhere. All right. So Russell, a little deeper into here. It's not near resistance yet. So even if we get a red bar, it's one I mentioned earlier. Even if it is a red bar, is tomorrow turn out to be a red bar ignored? I don't want to get into tomorrow too much, but you can see it's close to this resistance area, and it is making lower highs and lower lows. The depth of retracement here, pretty much across the board, and most of the things that we look at is a short-term positive, and the pullbacks and what kind of correction, what type of correction, sideways or down, is going to tell us more about this market making a, well, I would say it's a significant low. It doesn't mean it cannot be violated, but we'll just have to see how that evolves. Bitcoin's down a bit here. It's at resistance. Didn't take it out. So, and you can see this is still, downtrend is very much intact. It was no deep retracement. And that's a little bit of fly in the ointment of the bullish case. So it's held up and it didn't take that out. And keep an eye on this, on how far it pulls back, what it does here. As I said, it has had a correlation. And crude oil coming down to some extent. I guess the markets will like that. So part of what's going on, is, everybody knows about the big inflation thing, right? And speculation is the inflation topped out. Well, whether it has or not, we're still dealing with a lot of inflation, and the markets just react to every little thing, of course, that it can take advantage of. But oil and gas is still really high. This coming down as it is, markets aren't rallying on that. So a little bit of bearishness based on something that the market should like. We'll see if this breaks. And interest rates pulling in a little bit and starting to break down. And I see oil coming down. I see interest rates coming down. And the markets like that to one extent. However, this is confirmation of those GDP numbers as to the recession. So look, I think everybody would agree, just based on what's occurred, in the last several months, recession or not, things are not good. But interest rates going lower and oil going lower are in alignment with, the recession actually occurring. So something we'll see whether this continues to drop. I'm being asked about yield curves. I don't want to spend too much time on. And you see the collapse here in the distance between the 3-month and the 30-year, which is, close to the inversion is down here. These here are 5-year versus 10, 5-year versus 30. This one has been improving a bit, which was inverted, as was this one. Thing is, this becoming inverted, I mean, the markets just started going down even before this happened, where historically this would have come down here and the markets would have continued to go up. So a little out of sync with his historical norms, but yield curves catching up with the confirmation of a recession isn't typical. Now, the other thing to look at with recession, coming about and yield curves having inverted is that, the transports led the way down. And that typically happens. But now, you got the transports with pretty nice stabilization here within this downtrend. And the same thing that we'll be looking at over the next week or so is what kind of correction occurs here? Does it hold up at resistance? Does it collapse? Was this just that bear market rally, which is what it was? But now the tell is how it reacts to the resistance area once it gets there, like this. This was a deep retracement, but then it collapsed. So this had a longer period of creating pivots. And what was, we talked about in the newsletter early on, if I got the symbol here, right? Consumer discretionary was starting to bottom out. And this is a sector that typically people don't want to be part of in a recession, right? Because they withdraw spending money. But this was bottoming out, and this moved up quite nicely and actually took out the June low. So, there's some good things, there's some not so good things, and that's what's going to create uncertainty. And, probably we're going to go into some choppy price action here for the markets to figure that out. Well, yours, Dan. Yeah, so McGraw, as the dollar comes down, one of the things that we're looking at is this has a pretty good, it's down here a little bit today, but we're looking for this to bottom out. Emerging markets typically go up as the dollar comes down. So we're looking for these relationships to take hold or fall apart again.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so all our opens are fine. We have a lot of new trade ideas. let's go right to what's moving and a couple earnings. I saw Tesla here. Wow. That Wednesday, that was a beautiful entry. The gap up on earnings, obviously, target 200. And it looks like it's a punt from here. BBBY potential bottoming pattern, but it's a downtrend. It's a consolidation and a nasty downtrend, daily, weekly. Car had earnings. We shorted actually puts on this right into the close, the 135s. So this was just one of these way out of the money earnings speculations after a collapse. This thing's down from $300. So these are the type of patterns that I'll take the risk. We've been pretty darn good on them. We're like 19 out of 20. Intel was the only pain in my side on Friday, but we managed to get out of that. Very, not a bad problem at all. This thing I saw moving up this morning, CELH. It has earnings on 8/11, but it's going to be another little earnings trade for me and whoever wants to do it. I'm gonna try to sell these 65 puts way the heck down here at the 200. Airbnb, I was looking at, it was up pre-market. That would have been a nice put spread under last week's low, but it has earnings tomorrow. EVOP here, gap's too big, but this is, Debbie's not here, but this is a awesome ascending triangle. We had an MT live recently on that. Ascending triangle, horizontal resistance, higher demand pivots, price void, boom. That was nice. Yeah, Boeing, Thomas, I posted as a put spread watch on a pullback. The FAA is going to allow them to start selling their Dreamliner again. And they were supposed to have some strike, I think, today with the mechanics union or whatever. But I don't know if that got fixed or not. But on the 5-minute chart pre-market here, I'm seeing a nice double bottom on the spiders. Look at that. That is a W bottom. Momentum move. The retest comes in different flavors. And, right now, bar's still working, but it's a higher low 180 reversal. So that's a nice pre-market reversal here, 5 minutes into the open. Beam. Beam gapping down 56 bucks. Call spread candidate. And that's an M top. You see how easy these are? Momentum move down, retest. Just pull out your crayons. That's an M. So that's a beautiful. I'll put beam right here. I got car in another computer. Beam's a beautiful call spread candidate if there's any juice up there. MGAM IPO on Friday. This thing's, look at the range. $4 to 18. I don't know what they do, but that's some wild action. Oh, Baba, we're still short a half lot. It was up and now it's under Friday's low, so that's good. I'll be taking the stop. VNO, bottoming pattern here. It had earnings. It's opening flat on earnings. Nice volume bar on Friday. That's just a breakout of bottoming pattern. N had earnings down, so that's a call spread watch. DEI bottoming pattern. I can't tell where you're gapping. These are all earnings. Fairly light volume, up 3 bars. I don't know what to do with that. RHP, same bottoming pattern, continuation. but I don't see the gap, so I don't know what to do. Now this one's tighter. I know it's at the 200 in resistance, but this is a put spread idea over Friday's high at earnings. And the leg had earnings. It's a 1, 2, 3. I see a small gap down. I just don't like 1, 2, 3 is far from the 20. But it did have this correction bar here, buy setup. I'm going to set an alarm at 40 on the leg. Stem. I love this weekly breakout over here, but daily's too extended. Ice, beautiful 1, 2, 3. It has earnings this week, but well, it's good to go. Good to go as a pre-earnings run. This thing's up too much. I don't see a gap. I was waiting to see if it would get down, and then it could be a call spread watch. LSCC. I'm shocked that there's very little pre-market there on earnings. RRX up a lot. This was a nice bottoming pattern. Look at this. Tested 3 times, gap up, bottoming tail, red bar ignored, price void, and that's just been a grinder. That was a nice bottoming pattern. Pins. Actually, I just did trade of the week, which comes out on Wednesday on iron condors. And remember, McGraw, I think it was your idea, maybe AutoNation. AutoNation, we did a condor. Look at that beautiful sideways action. This pins could be another one. See if we can do the 22.17. That's another good sideways trading range. Zulu India. You know, I like the converging 2050. It's getting tight. Put spread idea. Moss had earnings, put spread idea. CF had earnings, no pattern. FANG earnings. If it can negate the gap down, then it could be a put spread, but right now, nothing. Manpower, no pattern. ANET. The 30-minute low, put spread, I'm sorry, call spread idea. All right, I had a pre-market. Oh, I got filled on. Nice. I had a McGraw. This is over earnings, but I had an order out to sell the 95 ices for 95 cents. So I just got filled at the open. Right now they're 60 by 115. So small little gap down. I'm going to set a new alarm now. A 102.25. Now that ICE is under Friday's low, I might consider going in Friday's high. QTRX is a short that triggered. That was in the weekend letter. That's good to go. Baba's still weak. All right, Vano, the entry is Friday's high. I'll set an alarm at 30.40. With going up, Jets, you know, potential bottoming pattern. Greg, this reminds me of, there was a statement in your letter that said anything that's not at at or near its major resistance is showing relative weakness. So there's a good example. Look at this dog. It can't even take out this July pivot, whereas the Qs are up here at the June resistance. All right, so wide range bars down. So we're continuing the weakness. AVB, we're still in a 1/3 lot. I'll just leave the stop where it is. Boeing. Oh, car, let's see where our naked puts are. I was bidding 10 cents to get out. I put that in pre-market.